It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes. Let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris.
And my name is Mike.
And this week, we're taking a look at that first Echo trailer, if you will, and some information.
Can you say that again?
Echo.
Oh, God.
Echo. We could do this all day. Yeah, and that's another Marvel line there. But yeah, we'll talk about that pretty early on. Do you know, Mike, Disney is buying the rest of Hulu, and we'll talk about kind of what that means.
Yeah.
Later in the show. Netflix was going to start rewarding you for binge watching content on their stuff if you don't pay for the ad-free version. Mike is an ad-free man. You ask him.
Oh, yeah.
Mike, do you like to watch ads?
No.
Minus those ads.
I wish we had an ad read, like, right here.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Subscribe, but don't forget to smash that like button, the Superhero Slate. But yes, and more this week.
Yeah, if you can't tell already just by the first couple sentences of the intro, Chris and I are dragging today. Mm-hmm. We had a late night, long days before the recording, but also like I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm getting stretched now. We're at the end of the year. You know, Halloween feels like it happened 4 weeks ago, and it happened like days ago.
Oh yeah.
We're in the unofficial holiday season, and I will stress unofficial because no one can wait until after Thanksgiving anymore. No. I know Superfan Jim, who listens to the show, has been sharing many memes.
He's a psycho. He is a psycho to be down with Thanksgiving this early or Christmas this early, but whatever. Yeah. To each their own. I'm not here to harsh your mellow, man. Have some good time with Christmas.
Yeah, but I had a question for you, Chris. Mm-hmm. We have been in the unofficial holiday season for 5 days. Have you indulged in anything remotely holiday related or adjacent?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you know that I have. There are two things. Well, actually, it'll go to my topic here. This is actually after, so it'll actually tie in. So, the first thing about holidays, any holiday, Mike, is I go and look for what flavors are candies dropping and out there. So I got some toasted vanilla M&Ms, Mike. So, I don't know if I sent you a photo of them or not, but they're literally just white chocolate with very like a marshmallowy vanilla flavor to them. M&Ms. Mm-hmm. I think they'd be good with like if you put them in with like pretzels and what's that puppy chow mix? Is that what they call that stuff?
Oh yeah. I
think that would really kind of season that up a little bit. I think that would be really by themselves are fine, but like I'm not gonna be pounding these things down like literally popping like regular M&Ms. I just couldn't do it. Like they're too sweet. But like I think if you melt them down or mix them, crush them up with that stuff, I think you're gonna have a really good time. I was looking for candy cane Hershey Kisses, but I decided not to look too hard because those are my weakness, Mike. I don't know I don't know how you feel about them, but I like candy cane Hershey Kisses. The other thing I got was gingerbread toast crunch. The cereal, which I had this morning, which it's got a very good gingerbread thing. It reminds me of do you ever have that cereal Golden Crisp? It's kind of like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but without the powder. It's like Cinnamon Toast Crunch with Golden Crisp like flavoring on it, which was really nice. Last year I had
everything. It's everything a growing boy needs.
Yeah. We were also watching. Have you heard Tate's Bakery cookies? Mm-hmm. So they have their ginger snaps are out, which are one of their holiday flavors. So we were watching Taskmaster the other night, like we want to do these days, and eating some ginger bread cookies or ginger snap cookies, which was delicious. But the whole reason I went to the store was I was looking for Mountain Dew's Game Fuel. They've re-released Game Fuel the third time, Mike, in its history that it's been re-released. The first time was a huge turning point for many men's lives, was Halo 3 for Xbox 360. And you may not remember that, but the Game Fuel, they had the Halo Mountain Dew cans with the Game Fuel all over, Mike. I don't know if you remember it. Now,
I remember.
Yeah, and Microsoft has gone all in with all sorts of like Doritos and Rockstar and Mountain Dew. But Game Fuel is back in two flavors. They have Citrus Cherry, which is the original 2008 flavor, which is exactly this is Mountain Dew and Sweet Tarts. Like, that is almost too sugary to be true, but boy, does that just, like, that nostalgia taste just wash over me whenever I'm drinking that. I'm like, oh, I remember not taking showers for days and drinking this stuff, playing Halo 3, right, in the summer, because that's all we could do. And then the other one's Mystic Punch, which is a purple flavor, and it's fine. I don't care for it as much. I know another friend of mine, Adam, he liked it better than Citrus Cherry, so he's going to give me his Citrus Cherry 12-pack he bought because he just didn't care for it. But I'm like, yeah, I understand the flavors. But like, if you were a fan of Game Fuel from the late 2000s and I think 2012, 2013, it is back. It is in stores. I found it at Walmart myself. It's probably everywhere else. And I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but the Red Bull flavor, the winter flavor, is cinnamon pear. Which is also really, really like got that wintry flavor. But if you don't like that cinnamon stuff, one person I talked to said it kind of had like that potpourri flavor because of pear and cinnamon kind of fit that vibe, right? If you don't like that, understand it's not flavor, but wonderful. It's a great time to be a sugar fan, is what I'm saying, Mike. But I've not decorated my house at all. I had nothing up. My wife, we usually use either travel in November, which I actually traveled last week in October, or I have something else, and she'll usually take that weekend to pull out our like 20-foot tree and put it up and kind of get it going. But yeah, holidays, it's fine celebrating, but not for me. I mean, I'm in it for the candy, Mike, and you're in it for the murder. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, what an interesting transition.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything else how to do it. Yeah.
One thing I did not serve last night, Chris, at our murder mystery party that my wife and I held at our house was Mountain Dew. We had other libations, but I just wanted to recall the evening I had last night. It was very interesting. I've never done a murder mystery party before, so I don't know how they typically go or if the game that we were using is unique in any way, but we were operating from a box called Secrets of Emerald Hill, which I think you can buy in pretty much any major retailer. And there's scripts inside the box. There's 8 different characters. The host of the party gets to join the evening just like everyone else, because nobody knows the secrets until they're all handed out, and they're all pre-sealed in envelopes in the box. But it was pretty fun. I was more worried about the gamified aspect of it, because when it comes to these group kind of based social games, I'm always really, really bad at them. Any sort of like werewolf or mafia style game, I've never been very good, because you get a card and it tells you what you do, but then it also gives you like a secret power, but you don't understand the mechanics or like the meta of the game yet. So like basically like people are asking me like, oh, did you go to the butcher last night? And I'm just like, I don't know how this power works. I think I'm allowed to tell you I did, and it's just like a nightmare and I hate it. But this was almost more of like just you're like cold reading a script around like a table for like a movie or a TV show or something like that, and it was just really fun. So everyone kind of came in character. This one is set in the 1980s, so some people like really delved really hardcore into the 80s aesthetic. My character, thankfully, was literally a bad Hollywood actor, which is great because I'm horrible at acting to begin with.
I was going to say, I'm like, did you write your own character, Mike, is what it sounds like.
No. I was an actor who was pretending to be 21 years old, but I was actually 37. So I was like, oh, this is really fitting for my just physical body shape right now. But it was really, really fun. I didn't really have to worry about any sort of like gamified stuff. I was just reading a script. We were all having a blast. But also, I didn't realize, at least with this specific murder mystery, it's kind of a disposable game almost. I mean, we didn't necessarily destroy any of the pieces, but everything kind of comes out of like their nice little tidy bags. The secret envelopes are kind of sealed with a sticker, so that kind of rips. So my wife is going to try to put all the components back together and maybe hand it off to somebody else that wants to play it. But I didn't really know that. I didn't know it was kind of like a disposable experience.
Those and those escape rooms you get, like the box escape rooms, are the same way. They come with things that you got to seal up because my wife's family, they've done that. Her dad brought one in and did not realize how intense we would get about an escape room. It's not that it was a bad intense, but like he only knows us in passing, right? He's never seen us work. And my brother-in-law and I have known each other, coming up on 30 years. So of course we just went right to town on that stuff. But yeah, absolutely. Murder mystery parties are great. They're huge right now. My wife is attending one next weekend while I'm out of town. with one of her coworkers. I'm sad that I don't get to do these because I feel like I just ham it up, Mike. I just love to ham up one of these situations. But the last time I did what I was telling you before the show was a joint bachelorette party where it was a murder mystery party instead, and I was like, that's really fun. Really cut down on the number of explicit dancers, if you will, but increase the amount of like costuming for sure. Because I think it was like a 1920s thing. What era was this one set in again? Did I miss that?
This was set in 1987, but also curveball in London. So we're all Americans. Just some people chose to attempt British accents. Luckily, my character didn't need to because I'm awful at those. But setting it in the decade was funny because you could definitely tell the writer of the game was doing some tongue-in-cheek stuff like hamming up the importance of magazine covers and talking about these newfangled things called computers and stuff and the internet.
That's really fun.
There was some fun in there.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Just gonna say bloody L and cheerio quite a bit, right? That'll get you through it. But that's fun. That's a good time. That's a good time. So, without further ado, Mike, let's jump into the show because we've got some stuff to talk about today, and we don't normally talk about news before we get to the show, but this is some stuff today that we talked about earlier on. One of the things we didn't talk about actually was Ahsoka. I've got one friend listener to the show, Patrick, he has watched a curated list of Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and now is on Ahsoka. Finally, he did the journey to get there, and I'm proud of him. And it's been fun to like go on that journey with him. And he's hearing him praise the Clone Wars. I'm like, yeah, that show is really good. And don't sleep on that, right? Because of how like the characters are built and stuff like that. So he's doing that. But hopefully this is still rumor. Nothing's announced by Lucasfilm, but season 2 has been rumored to be greenlit and moving production to London, Mike, in 2024 probably. So I don't really find this as a surprise, to be honest. I feel like they're going to do another season and then jump right into his movie, right? Dave Filoni's film.
Yeah, I was gonna say they technically had an escape hatch if they really needed to use it. There's a film coming up, or there's other adjacent television shows that they could have kind of slingshotted the characters into, just in case. It wouldn't have narratively been as good because how do you have these stranded characters moved without some sort of
it's called the Force, Mike. You just hand wave it with the Force.
No, it's I think it's what is it, L2 and Square on the PlayStation that launches my Spider-Man off the top of a building. That's how you do it.
Well, you swipe on the pad and hold Square to change characters. Is how you do it, Mike. If you do it, no, I'm kidding. Have you done the character swap in the game yet?
No, I haven't. Well, I mean, like voluntarily.
Yeah.
No,
okay.
No, I have, but I've been kind of just following the story.
Gotcha. Okay, anyway, we swap the characters, Mike. We swipe on the touchpad, press D, and then or Square. Next thing you know, we're in a different Star Wars character.
To Ahsoka, yeah.
And then, but we're not talking about the Book of Boba Fett expansion. That DLC was not to par. But anyway, continue. I mean, you're right. They have other shows coming up that they could do this with. Obviously, Mandalorian season 4. Are we on 4? We just did 3, right? 4. Ahsoka season 2. Skeleton Crew would also be another backdoor because they supposedly get lost in a distant galaxy, Mike. So maybe they're hitchhikers. They're like, hey, can you give us a ride back? We'll give you gas money to the main universe. So maybe they could pop up there, tie that together. But yeah, I'm ready to kind of. It's not that I hate watching them. I think it needs to culminate in something finally, and I think we need to get there pretty quick, right? We don't want to drag this on forever and keep thinking about it. But pretty happy. Ahsoka season 2, supposedly greenlit. We'll talk more about that later. Do you know when in 2020 we had a Disney Investor Day? Are those in like November? I feel like those were in the fall, winter. Do we have one coming up soon?
I feel like I remember one happening in November at some point in time. I gotta feel like we'll jump into it here shortly. We're gonna talk. Yeah, we're gonna talk about all like the drama. I just feel like with so much happening out there, and all of the retooling that is reportedly happening, it seems like there's no grand plan for them to show off just yet. It feels like
it's December 10th is when that was in 2020. So we still have time. And I think, what we will talk about, but I think, yes, they don't have a grand plan, but as much noise is out there, whether it's true or not, we'll talk about that, is you got to quell that noise, right? You have to say, no, we have things under control. The news is just making things up, or yes, that has been reported, but here is our plan, right? I think there is value to investors in that plan. So,
well, I think Jonathan Major's court date is supposed to be in November at some point in time, so maybe they'll have some sort of final ruling on that character before December rolls around.
Well, we got one more episode of Loki left. You never know. You never know. So it's been pretty quiet on that front. But anyway, speaking of Disney Plus, Mike, that's a good segue into the. I guess this was, to me, relatively unplanned for. An Echo trailer dropped this week. I don't know if there was some sort of media day or like some sort of planned day, because there's also costumes were unveiled. I didn't expect this at all, and I don't know how it popped up on the radar. What was kind of going on here, but there is a trailer for Echo, the series, coming out January 10th, and it's confirmed for 5 episodes. We reported. The biggest surprise in this, number one, it is a very, very Kingpin heavy trailer. First and foremost, did not expect the Kingpin forefront. The second biggest thing is this is the first TV MA show from Marvel Studios on Disney Plus, and did not expect that either. They have not really said anything about that before. And the trailer kind of showed that. So the tagline at the end says, "Please make sure your account can view TVMA content on Disney Plus to watch this show." So I didn't expect this, and there was some interviews with the writers and showrunners. One of the quotes I took out of there, that is Echo as a character, Maya, is it Lopez? No, doesn't sound right. Probably is. Maya or Echo is a villain, and she will not have her comics powers, which is where she just can see something and imitate all sorts of superpowers, if you will, which makes it more real. It fits better, right? Because I know your concern is, why would she be able to do that if she can look and see superpowers and do superpowers? Reeling it back in is going to make it feel a little more grounded. What do you feel about this trailer?
Yeah, I mean, it was intense, right? I wasn't expecting the perspective of, Kingpin being like a mentor or father figure to her. I don't know if those seeds were planted, obviously, in
Hawkeye. It was very much in Hawkeye, yeah. Because she was working for him, kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember there was definitely a relationship there, but I don't remember it being tied back to childhood. But to be fair, it's been a while since I've watched it, and I only watched it once. So I guess that's a welcomed angle, right? They seem to be taking it pretty seriously, where the character, I say, was introduced in a somewhat more lighthearted show. It was revealed at the very end of the trailer. We were talking about, like, how did Kingpin survive? So I guess it looks like he actually was shot in the face. I feel justified. Eye patch over his eye.
I feel justified. That was my theory the whole time. So,
I mean, I don't know if there's some sort of Kingsman technology that came down to resurrect his shot up face, or what's going on there, but I'm sure some explanation will be held.
And they pulled that from the comics did that a while as well. I think they shot him in both eyes in the comic books, though, which is even weirder. So at least they kept one of them, right? If he has an eye patch going forward, it'll be fine. But sorry.
I suppose for the sake of the title of the show, if I have to repeat myself, because I feel like I've brought this up several times when we talk about Echo, any good writer can make anything interesting, right? But I don't really necessarily have high hopes. It's such a weird corner to develop. I would say over at Disney Plus, this really does feel like it was born out of the Chapek regime, right? Of just we need something on Disney content. Plus all of the time. There needs to be a Star Wars, there needs to be a Marvel at any point in time. We cannot have people churning from the subscription service. So just start developing anything. Get any talent that you can find across town. Bring them in. Ask them if there's anything that they'd like to do. Give them recommendations. Are there the ball rolling?
B characters in these shows we could spin off, right?
Yes. Exactly. And this is kind of where I feel like maybe Andor came out of, right? So maybe good things can come from it, right? Somebody comes in, develops Andor, a character that we've said millions of times on our own show that why do we need this? Turns out being amazing. So Echo could end up being great, right? But we are getting to a shift now, I would say, with Marvel, unfortunately, where now I need to be the concept and story and just everything needs to be proven to me now. When before we would always say like, oh, well, we trust Marvel. They've given us nothing but quality content. There's no reason to be worried. Let's just sit back, relax, and wait for the fun to roll around. I feel like that has stopped. Yeah. So now I am cautious, just like I was when I was, watching some of those early DC properties. Obviously, not exact comparisons, right? So basically, I just have to wait until January and just cross my fingers and hopefully we get something good.
So a couple things. I've also included links to her attire / costumes that she'll be getting later in the show. Obviously not superhero costumes, but very much authentic to the Choctaw legacy, or I guess heritage of the character. Very much so. You can see that here. The trailer also, if you look it up on YouTube, has a Choctaw dubbed version as well. So really getting into the culture point of view and her heritage as a character in here, which is really cool. And you can kind of see that in the images from this event, which is cool. And it's Maya Lopez. I was right. It's on the tag here in the card. And then the other part is this is again, we've talked about the binge model, all 5 episodes at once on January 10th. And it is being branded a new brand. This was part of the interview process. Is that this is a Marvel Spotlight character, and to me, this sounds like we have to we have things already in place from the Chapek era. We have to figure out what to do with them. And as you mentioned, Echo is not a character who was going. We don't need to see Echo in Secret Wars, do we, Mike? Like, she is not a relevant character in the grand scheme of things. She is a very just a character on fucking the I guess the bottom rung of the Marvel barrel, if you will, and it will not affect the cosmic saga. She's not going to show up and see somebody do something and save the multiverse. So it sounds like some of these characters or shows that were again greenlit in the pre-Iger again era have been retooled to be not huge things. So they are Marvel Spotlight character focused sagas that stray away from the grand scope of the MCU at large. So this will be something that's more of a, if you want to watch it, that's great, but you're probably never going to have to watch it to understand the story. And they've at least acknowledged, I mean, my thing is they've acknowledged that they're working on that, and I think that is okay, because they also said, I'm going to disagree a slight bit. You will not have to have watched all of the other Marvel stuff to understand this, but with the Kingpin coming from Daredevil show and then Hawkeye, her appearance in Hawkeye, you're probably going to have to know those. But I think if you just see those two things, that's all you have to do for this character. At the end of the day. I
mean, it looks like it's only 5 episodes. There's no way that episodes are going to be longer than an hour each. Right?
The first 2 are an hour and a half total, so they're about 45 each.
Yeah, so you're going to burn through this super quick if you like it. You're going to have to watch it if you want that hit of Daredevil. I'm really curious how much Daredevil is going to matter.
Daredevil is in the trailer. We hadn't touched on that yet, but and then you mentioned obviously everyone takes screenshots of Daredevil because boy, the internet loves Daredevil. He's in his, you point out, he looks like he's in his red suit.
Yeah, he's back in his red suit. I think his red suit, it's like a baseball team, right? It's his home suit. His away suit's yellow, and he's on the other coast. He's got there's contractual obligations where if he goes west of the Mississippi, he's got to change in the yellow.
I'm gonna say he's blind. So does he know which one he's putting on?
Oh, you bring up a great point, Chris. He might not know. His tailor ran out of the red paint, and he's just like, he's not good. He won't know, right? Know. I can just let's just wait and see. But I'm really curious. If I had to be as cynical as possible, he's in barely one scene just so they could put him in the trailer. Best case scenario, he's integral to the plot, right? That would be great too, because that's what you want. Even if this was like an Echo comic book, right? Wouldn't that be cool to open it up and see her doing cool shit with Daredevil?
Yeah, and right, and obviously Daredevil's history with Wilson Fisk, Kingpin, right? Hopefully, this will probably tee into Daredevil Born Again. I think we always said it would be, right? Kind of tee into it a little bit, but probably not essential watching. But I'm excited to see it and kind of understand, hopefully, something that has, again, low stakes, if you will, right? Just more. Hopefully, it's more of a character piece, a smaller cast, a more focused like a story. Again, like Andor, right? Andor did not have a huge cast; it had smaller cast. It was very much away from. Yes, there are pieces to Star Wars at large, but overall, it was more about these characters in the moment rather than the multiverse is ending at the same time. So I just didn't know we were going to get a trailer. Very, very surprised, and the confirmation that the release date's nice. So we will keep you guys posted in the next I guess 2 months till this comes out, right? So it'll be there, and I believe they say that it will be on Hulu as well. Not just Disney Plus. It's also Hulu for a little bit, a couple months as well.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be simultaneous too. So they're really spreading the field on this one.
Yeah, it sounds like more places. We have more eyes, and we're going to talk more about Hulu here at the bottom as well. So some of that stuff. All right, so let's get into what the card here that Mike has created is referring to. Drama Studios, right? And what this means. So earlier this week, Variety released a piece. What did they call that piece, Mike? I didn't link it in here because
it was just like what's going wrong with Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
Was the gist of it. I don't know what the exact title was. But that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so it's essentially what is happening to Marvel. The good, the bad, the ugly. I'm trying to pull it up here. I don't even see it on their homepage anymore, Mike. That's concerning. But I will tell you, this piece is very much the first day. I'd say the first 24 hours. It's like a whirlwind of like people picking and little bits and pieces out of this, right? Chewing on them, spitting them out, going everywhere. However, for those who may not know, this piece is under a lot of scrutiny by industry insiders, not the higher ups, but people who work at the industry, like the employee level, claiming most of this, if not all of it, is false. And I will say not all of it is false, because we will talk about some of these things that are ring true, but I think anybody could kind of pick up on those right things. So this was written by Tatiana Siegel, who a lot of people have said she's come under fire for writing fake hit pieces before, especially ones including praising Joss Whedon and blaming Ray Fisher. Do you remember the Justice League drama
I remember that
we talked about forever?
Mm-hmm.
She also leaked recently Amber Heard's therapy notes and falsely accused of Jason Momoa for dressing up as Johnny Depp on the scenes on the set of Aquaman. And most people were like, Jason Momoa has always dressed bohemian. Look at him. He's a bohemian. Like, he's not dressing up as Captain Jack Sparrow. That is Jason Momoa and how he's always been, kind of thing. So there, the other part is all of these quote unquote scoops in this article have been traced back to Reddit's and other non-verified scoopers. So whether these are true or not, Mike, I don't care. We're going to talk about them because that's what we do on the show. But I want to put a big asterisk on everything. Like, hey, if this comes out to not be true, totally be it. If it is true, even better. But we have to put an asterisk because we wouldn't be doing our job as a news piece if we didn't source everything as well.
Yeah. Also, you are right. We talk about a lot of these types of like rumors on the show a lot, but this one seemed to get a little bit more veracity behind it because it was published by Variety, so it has a little bit of it has a little bit more cred to it.
Yeah,
right?
they are a legitimate I guess website that they do a magazine as well, maybe a print.
If magazines still exist anymore, they might. And I'm sure that there's an editor over there, that read over. I don't know how much fact checking goes over this because it's all kind of like insider, off the record. Nobody wants to, it's just all industry, whispers around town.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say the other thing with this is, with the recent reign of the MCU, the timeline of the MCU, the Daredevil Born Again, it's very easy to paint a red target on Marvel right now and say they have problems. We all know they've had problems. We've talked about it on the show, right? The quality of things has dipped. there's great things. This year alone, we've had Guardians 3. We have Loki. We've also had Ant-Man and was it Secret Invasion, right? Things you can't fix that are already when the wheels are in motion before Bob Iger took back over. And, maybe hopefully he helps. We can't verify that.
And
but
I mean,
it's easy to point a target and write an article saying, "Hey, here's all the stuff that's wrong."
Well, also. Yeah, it's like we're gonna run down all the news and everything, but also at the same time, I think categorically, if you read over all of it, it doesn't necessarily make Marvel look great, but nothing in these leaks are, I would say, tantamount of like huge scandal, right? It's just like, oh, this article was about a business, and it's just not being very good at being the business that it's in at the current moment. Yeah. That's kind of like the lead of it. It's just like they need to do better at making movies and TV shows. Is kind of like the summation of all of these rumors.
I would say a couple of them are I would say that we'll talk about Blade is in here. That's probably the weirdest unsubstantiated rumor that came out of this, right? Even the person we'll talk about it was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life, and he was the writer on it. And then a couple things, I think, especially what you sent me, is really our next topic, is stuff that we could have just guessed and been like, yeah, this is probably right. Like, why would you not? The topic is, hey, they want to bring back original Avengers for Secret Wars. Well, duh, they want to bring back everybody. It's supposed to be the biggest movie in the world, right? Why would you not try to bring back some of your original, actors if you can? So it's just a very weird. It's a very weird article that there's no sources in this. They're like, somebody said this, but like again, it's not wrong, right? Like it says public criticism is mounting. Yes, it is on some of these projects. It's an ebb and flow right now, and they're working on hopefully righting the ship, but we can't say what it is. But anything you want to just jump into some of these? I mean, I think we've got three big topics here, I would say. The first one is like I just mentioned, Avengers Secret Wars. Mike, you sent this to me earlier in the week. We talked about it, and they are rumored to bring back the original Avengers team. This is the actual thing from people who are right. So they're most likely variants if they bring them back, right? Like you're not bringing back Robert Downey Jr. Alive. He died in the sacred timeline. Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow also died. Chris Evans could come back not only as Captain America, but what if he was the Human Torch? Right, from his Fantastic Four era. Mm-hmm. So, but if we were to sit and talk about Secret Wars, wouldn't you be like, well, yeah, it'd be cool if they had everybody back for one big hurrah, even if it's not the original version. So, what do you make of this? You probably got a little different opinion than I do.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, there's such star power right now behind some of the actors' faces, right? So it's just like a totally different type of conversation of, are we talking about characters played by different faces or actors returning? I think for the sake of credibility, Robert Downey Jr. should just not return. Like he went out on top. I don't think the MCU, to be honest, if I had to be a betting man, I hope it goes a different way. If I had to bet, the MCU will never top Infinity War and Endgame. Like that kind of achievement had never happened before, and they're never gonna be able to recapture that again. As hard as they try, they could get close. Financially, they could be there. They could have as much profit as they want, right? So like Robert, you're never gonna do better. So he's out on top. I don't think his face or resemblance should come back. Now the character could come back. That could be interesting. But also like what a balance you have to make, right? Every time we talk about Secret Wars, I always envision a scene in my head. Maybe something kind of comparable to Endgame, right? I'm on your left cap scene, where there's just a bunch of heroes mounting up on some sort of front line. There's going to be a ton of reveals, because there's going to be all of these, like, you're going to see David Hasselhoff like show up as like Nick Fury. Yeah. You're going to see all of these like deep cuts. Like you said, you might see Chris Evans as the Flaming Torch. You'll see the flaming person come down, the flame comes off, it's Chris Evans. Whoa, people are going to go crazy. That's great. Yeah. We get to see Chris Evans' face again. I'm just really curious how you manage the expectation of an audience of an Iron Man suit coming down, the helmet coming off, and it's not Robert Downey Jr. It's like a whiplash, right? It's cool because you get to see Iron Man again, right? and like some people like us, if it is Tom Cruise under there, will be like, oh, I get it, and maybe just Tom Cruise's face will be enough star power to get people over it. But like, I feel like there is not a 0% number of people that will be disappointed that Iron Man suits back and Tony's not in it. You know,
I think the one thing you'd have to do, and it would come down to me personally, is the marketing point, right? You don't put the Iron Man suit in the trailer and not show who's under it, right? Mm-hmm. Do you give away this scene earlier so people know what to come into? They're coming into versus like helping again, mind you set those expectations, but at the same time I'm like, what has Robert Downey Jr. been doing lately? I'm not upset if he comes back. He comes back for a scene or two. He brings that swagger, that charm, the character he kicked it off with. Of course, obviously he did go out on top, but if he has a small scene to just even, just have a little bit of fun with some of the characters, I still think that's, to me, that I'm okay with that as long as it's handled. Again, it's not just, hey, here's a moment to sell toys kind of deal. Like we talked about old Marvel being. I feel there's okayness to there's a way to find that in there and have it be there. What if he's the AI? What if he's an AI version, Mike? What if they do that version from the comic books where he's like, here's some pieces of me, and they have to use that to, I don't know, because he found the time travel deal in Endgame, and they need some sort of time travel to defeat Kang later. Is that okay?
I think the only way I think he comes back is if it's emotionally relevant.
Yeah.
I feel like the perfect scenario is, and I don't even know if they can age up the fictional character fast enough within the universe to do this for Secret Wars, but his daughter, right? Mm-hmm. His daughter grows up. She's becoming a young adult. Maybe superhero adjacent. Maybe she takes up some sort of mantle, right? Having a huge conflict and crisis in her life. Well, and then somehow her father returns to offer, one final bit of advice.
It could be. I think maybe there's no guarantee that a child obviously inherits the parents' brilliance in this situation, but maybe they have to get something Tony locked away, and she's the key to getting it, right? Maybe she's the only person who can get it, so they can figure stuff out, because obviously Tony has secret things all over the world, if not more worlds by the end of Endgame. So there's opportunity, but like it has to be meaningful. It can't just be like a he's just here and back and we're jiving like we used to. The idea, the other one, the two bits here from actual people is Robert Downey Jr. is rumored to have already agreed to return. Albeit he is not a lead star in the movie, right? So we temper that expectation, but. The other thing, if it's not him, if it's Tom Cruise, he could be the 838 variant, which is the multiverse of madness, right? Like the Iron Man from that universe, because there was an empty chair, who we thought was we theorized was Tom Cruise before it came out, was that he's coming back to get revenge on Doctor Strange for killing everybody, even though it wasn't Doctor Strange, or getting revenge on Scarlet Witch from 1610 because. Or not 1610, whatever, or that is because of that. So there's opportunity. The other part is, again, the reliable leakers are Tobey Maguire and Hugh Jackman are the two leads, and Tom Holland is the MCU's TVA choice, which we did not have before. So it's very interesting that those are three actors from not Marvel Studios, if you will, right? Like Tom Holland was in Marvel movies, yes, but still a Sony picture in Sony Spider-Man recently. And Toby. So I'm interested. This movie has a lot of question marks. I would say even more so than Infinity War and Endgame, simply because we don't know what's coming and what's happening. We know Kang is there. We know the comic book Secret Wars, but they also borrow names from comics without doing it. So yeah, I think you're right. I mean, are you more okay with them bringing back Scarlett Johansson then as a character? Because her character, we've seen her in a movie after her death, even though the movie was historically earlier than her death.
I mean, if I had to kind of put like rankings behind the characters,
I was gonna say rank them.
I suppose the lower your rank goes, the more I would accept your cameo in a way. Yeah. So mathematically, Chris, yes, I would be more willing to see Black Widow on screen again.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I think the bad blood from the Chapek era with Scarlett Johansson. Remember when they put the movie on streaming and theater? and she had a big blow. I think that's calmed down, so this might be a way to appease her. Like, hey, if we, or not appease her, but like, hey, we worked out a deal. You can be in the movie. We're gonna give you a pretty good paycheck to show up again, kind of thing. Hopefully, you can go out with you get a chance to go out with a bang rather than a lawsuit, if you will, because that's what it ends on. But let's shift backwards a little bit. The other thing is, you mentioned at the top show, Jonathan Majors right now is in alleged hot water, right? He's standing trial to find out if he's guilty or not in November. And this is the worst, the quickest, I think, debunked thing in this article is that Marvel is rumored to have thought to replacing Kang with Doctor Doom in this. Obviously they would change the name King Dynasty, but like, I don't think you want to put Doctor Doom in so quickly, right? Maybe you change the face of Kang, change the actor, but not the character entirely, right? Like, this is that's a bad idea. And a lot of reliable scoopers have said it's not true, but even to write that down is weird.
Yeah, gigantic pivot, right? I mean, huge. This just makes me go, oh, somebody was just like, oh, what's a logical kind of like replacement that's been floated around? Let's just, push that rumor forward. It seems to be the most. And also, like, if Doctor Doom was, I'm sure, like, we know that there is and isn't, like, a whiteboard somewhere with just ideas, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure Doctor Doom is up there, and it would be, if it was true, it would be more of like, let's just downplay Kang and then just highlight Doom more, not so much of like a 1-to-1 swap. Like, I doubt it would be like Doctor Doom is kind of like the mastermind puppet, that's making interdimensional like madness, because that does not really fit with his like, power set, right?
Ironically, the 2015 Secret Wars, it is Doom who is doing the who's bringing all the verses together to live, and he becomes God Emperor Doom. However, we've not set that up. Like, there's no setup for that. Like that's just like, that would be such a jarring thing to go from Kang Dynasty to Secret Wars, where Kang's the villain and then Doom's on top, and you're like, who is this guy? Yeah, like, my Fantastic Four has barely been out.
Yeah, my parents don't know who Doctor Doom is. You at least gotta get my mom and dad on board before you start trying to make these big plays for $1 billion box office.
Right.
Budgets. But I just we're going to see Doctor Doom at some point in time. But like, I think the most obvious thing is that, like, I don't know if just people don't want to think about it, but like, we saw the end of Quantumania. There is nothing but endless scores of different versions of Kang, and they have recast before in the MCU. This just seems like a very easy shut the door case of like, let's just recast the character and move forward, right? There's already, like, you can already kind of start to see the writing on the wall that the MCU is going to get rebooted at some point in time. So like, we don't have to worry so much about it. Just get a couple movies out of a new actor. Yeah. The downside is we won't comment either way on whether or not innocent or guilty or anything like that, because we are not legal experts, and we don't even live in New York. We couldn't even possibly have been on the jury in any given way, if there even is a jury. I don't even know if they're taking it if it's that kind of court. But anyway, we've been watching Loki, and Jonathan Majors is doing such an amazing job this season. We'll dive into it more next week when we talk about the entire season 2 of Loki. But like, it is a shame imagining that performance disappearing.
Right. Yeah. You have. Yeah. It's one of those situations, like, if he is convicted of this, obviously it's more probably of a fine than jail time. Does Marvel even do anything with it? Because the other part of this, someone else, an insider, not in the article, noticed that the writer's strike, right, we had all summer, right, 100 and something days. I forget how many, 120, 140 days,
somewhere around there.
Yeah, there was literally no time to change Loki, right? There were no writers. Actor strike was going on at the same time. If they want to meet their current release dates for Deadpool 3, Captain America, what's after that, Thunderbolts, maybe Deadpool 3 would have a Kang in it, but like, they can't change a lot if they're going to hit those deadlines, right? They have to be very tight and keep that going. But so I don't even know what's next. If he is convicted, do they do anything with him, right? Is it enough to rehire him, or does he just have a stain on him, kind of thing? I don't know how they're going to handle that. But if there is a situation like is comic book movies, right, Mike? He is a person who can travel through time and space. We even saw in Loki season 1, there can be an alligator version of Loki. There can be Lokis that don't look anything like him.
And to beat it over the head again, all it takes. This is the one thing that I just love in general, just about Hollywood, just as a concept, right? The rules about everything can be rewritten or reset with a great movie, right?
Yep.
If you recast the role of Kang, and then the next time you see that recast, the movie is just amazing, nobody cares. It doesn't matter. If you can just, but that's the hard thing to do, right? That's the hardest thing to do in Hollywood is to make a good movie, to make a great movie. So that's always what I'm on the lookout for. Like that's honestly, that's how you solve every problem out here. You just make a good movie. How hard can it be?
Yeah. And it's one of those things. It's like, if I'm gonna look to the show that has done this the most and most successfully is Doctor Who, Mike, right? There are different iterations of the same Doctor when they recast him. They're like, oh, he regenerates into a new person with a new face and a mildly different personality. So it is accepted in, when you're watching things, that someone can in fact change face if you write a compelling argument. I would say what I would love to see, and probably the easiest way, is like you have an ancillary character that goes by a different name. You don't know who it is. Then the whole time at the end you find out that that person is Kang and has essentially replaced or gotten rid of the other ones with himself, right? Or multi variations of him. And we still have a Loki episode. I don't know if Kang is even in the last episode of Loki. So we need to see how that plays out.
There was a quote unquote insider report in the article of somebody that has said that they have seen the last 2 episodes of Loki, and they said Marvel is effed with the whole Jonathan Major situation. So if we're led to believe off of that rumor, it's that Jonathan Majors is very much going to be moving forward, but from that point of the story. We have seen the next to last episode, Mike, and that comment does not line up with that episode I just watched. Well, I in good faith, I cannot say anything without spoiling it. So tune in next week.
Right. I know, but I'm saying, like, I will just. What I've seen does not line up with that statement. That's a very weird. It's a very bold statement saying the last 2 episodes. I'm like, well, I've seen the last episode or next to last episode, and I don't agree. I don't think what you say lines up with that at all. But I'm excited to watch it. And we'll talk about it more next week. The last one I would say I'm going to pull out of this, Mike, that was very interesting is that in Blade, they claim the original scripts before the newest writer made Blade the 4th lead with 3 female lead characters, Mike. And we already kind of, this movie has been delayed. It was supposed to originally come out this past weekend. I don't know if you knew that on the original announcement date. No. But Mahershala Ali was ready to leave before hiring a new writer and retooling the story. We've reported on this before, a year ago, maybe a little over. All right, they were having trouble. They hired a new writer. They hired a new director. However, one of the previous writers, there were multiple writers in the first iteration, has said, he came out and he was like, look, Blade was in 99% of all the scenes. There was no other female lead characters that would take his place. We have no idea what you're talking about in this comment. So this is the one, to me, that's like, I'm scratching my head the most at it, Mike. Is this true? Was this true? Is it not true? What were you...
Well, also, like, in pre-production, with writing a script, it's got to be such a tight, coned group of people, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's going to be a couple executives, there's going to be, like, the writers, but, like, there can't be more than, like, a handful of people that are looking at these scripts. A dozen at most, yeah. Yeah, so it's just, like, how is any of this, like, leaking in the script department, right? I could see if maybe somebody was, like, who worked on a previous version was, like, maybe jaded and they were... leaking it, but to kind of bring it back a little bit full circle from what you were saying at the top of this kind of segment of just like Marvel was and still kind of is the top dog in Hollywood, but now people are starting to kind of see some exposed, weaknesses. It's like you're fighting the video game boss and you finally broken off enough armor and you're starting to see the glowing eyeballs, right? And we're starting to see a little bit of the hint of like eyelashes and pupils, right? And they're glowing, and I'm getting my bow and arrow ready. So it just kind of seems like the target is set and ready to go. And it just motivates people, right, to kind of create more of these non-scrupulous, stories.
Right. Well, it's just one of these. This is such. If this would have leaked, this would have had to have been 2 years ago, Mike. Right? Maybe 3 years ago. Why are we just hearing about it now? Of all we've had so many other leaks, so many other things come out, that this is just a very weird one to kind of bring into this, because they've already moved on from all those writers, and the original writer Michael Starbury was like, he's like, I never have seen this in any of the versions I was working on before that. So I just, obviously they are spread thin. They were told, you are our biggest moneymaker, churn out as much content as quickly as you can, because obviously everything you touch will be gold, right? That's how it feels to me. Is that how it feels to you at Marvel was for a while? Like, Chapek took over, like, everything you touch is gold. Keep doing it. Do more of it. Keep making gold. Keep spinning this gold. And then, they're not perfect. They were never perfect before, but they were fun and they had a good time. So it feels like when you overwork something, and it's just like, well, you need to refresh yourself a little bit.
Yeah. Well, there was a little bit of a tidbit in the Blade section of that story where the proposed budget for the film is only going to be $100 million. That seems a little low from my point of view. Doable, I would say, with like the visual style and power set of Blade. You're probably talking more costuming, stunt choreography, dark, European Gothic sets, right? Yeah, exactly. And I'm not saying any of that's bad by any means, right? Yeah. But I could 100% see Marvel, approaching maybe some of these movies going forward of just like, we were greenlighting budgets on the idea that we were going to be getting blockbuster record-setting results on every movie we made, and that's just not the truth anymore. Right. So I think we will see the budget clawed back.
Well, I'd also say the again, we don't have budgets, but reported budgets for their TV shows were very high-end TV show budgets, right? Premium TV show budgets probably ate into that quite a bit too. So absolutely. I don't disagree, but I do strongly disagree or disagree that Blade was going to be the fourth lead. Like, you don't get Academy Award winning actor Mahershala Ali and make him show up a quarter of the time, right, in a Blade movie. So I think that one's pretty rough. Overall, these are easy articles to piggyback on right now, right? In the news cycle, you see people start crafting articles, rumors, theories, back and forth, negative here, good there. So we are in an interesting spot where bad things did come. News officially came out of Marvel several weeks ago in Disney, and now there's more stuff that could possibly be true, possibly be rumors. But I think the changes, the iterations, we won't see any of that until what do we decide? At least the end of 2024, maybe starting with Deadpool 3, as it's still in production, if you will. So, does that make sense that we should probably, I wouldn't say brace for the worst, but just temper expectations. We're not getting A+ material. We're getting mediocre material until the end of next year.
I mean, there was some silver linings in the story. Somebody was quoted, I don't remember who it was, that Kevin Feige's like superpower was his ability to just totally change a movie in post.
To fix a movie, not change it, but exactly. Like make it work in the end.
Yeah, they were saying he, has this like Midas touch of like taking it and reworking it and giving us like a great film. So yeah, I think that leads to your point that even though Deadpool has already started in production, right, and could have been marred a little bit by some of the Chapek madness, that his ability to kind of like take a film that's kind of already kicked off, like, hopefully we can cross our fingers and we will get a great Deadpool third installment.
And I think we're just going to jump into it because Deadpool 3 is our next topic. I think Deadpool 3 is one of the safer movies out of all this because you have Ryan Reynolds, who is essentially, he is not a worker. He is not a a task man, right? He didn't go to Marvel for them to tell him what to do.
He's like the talent, but he's not the talent. He is the movie. As much as like we are being led to believe, he's not just somebody coming in for a job. You know?
Sean Levy, same way, right? The things he has done, he is not I'm just gonna do what you tell me to because he wants to make a good movie. And you know what he made, the other Deadpool movies, the Adam Project, right, kind of thing. They even let him bring back Free Guy. Are you gonna say Free Guy?
Yeah, Free Guy. Yeah.
They even let him bring back the original writers from the first two movies, right? So I feel even if if it's true that Kevin Feige has an ability as a producer to again land a movie on a runway, if you will, and make it successful. Deadpool 3 has a team in place that was already going to do what they wanted to do, whether they liked it or not at the top, because they have a proven track record of doing things their way and making it fun. And the fact they're bringing in Hugh Jackman, even right, I feel is going to be great. So I feel I'm a little biased. I think this will be a good movie. But Sean Levy has also said this week, Deadpool 3 is not the final title for the film. So we'll be discussing more titles probably in the future for this movie. And in Sean Levy's eyes, Logan is canon, is canonical, and they will have to probably put Wolverine back in Logan, maybe by the end of the movie, right? Kind of deal.
What are the odds that the movie is called Deadpool Kills the MCU? Like, what are the odds? That seems like really, I don't know. Like that is like if the title is kind of being withheld, and the second one was just called like Deadpool 2. Like I feel like there's some sort of reveal with the title.
He said he's not withholding it. He just doesn't know what it wants to be yet. What the perfect title is. Like he's like, do we put Wolverine in the title? Is it Deadpool and Wolverine, or kind of thing? I would not take Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe off the table, right, at all. And do you want to bring in Wolverine's, let people know, like, again, your mom and dad, I don't know if your dad likes Wolverine movies or not, but like people who don't know or wouldn't normally watch a Deadpool movie, do they need to know Hugh Jackman's in this by putting him in the title somewhere? Kind of thing. So I trust them. I know the actor guild, they're getting closer to an agreement, it sounded like last week. So
yeah, it seems like they're circling around a deal, I hope. Yeah,
so hopefully we'll get some. They said they'll be back to production within like a week or two as soon as they sign that. So very, very excited for them to get back on that. Also in Disney Studios, the Disney Studios animators at Walt Disney Studios have voted to unionize, which is very similar to the more recent Marvel Studios VFX unionization.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's primarily technically they're production workers, so I don't know exactly where the line is drawn necessarily there. So I don't think it has anything to do with like, voice talent or anything like that. But that's great. I'm always like for me, it just makes sense for any sort of office environment that has a pipeline. If you have a pipeline in any of your office environments for the work that you gets made, it's almost perfect for unionization, right? Because all of your roles are just clearly defined. You know the kind of like specialized skills that you need. So it needs to happen in the video game industry for sure. Yep. It's great that it's happening here. I'm sure the executive board of Disney does not like all this unionization happening underneath them, but sorry, that's just what happens.
They are not as bad as Apple. They're not sending out anti-union people to do it. So I think it'll be fine. But really, like you said, we in THR, a month ago or so, they were talking about, the executives at Marvel, even as TV shows, movies, love to change things last minute to just say they did something in a movie, Mike, right? So Marvel Studios, they unionized because, like, literally the Disney Plus series, they were like, they rewrote or they changed, I think, a lot of She-Hulk at the last minute. rearranged it, needed to redo scenes in a different order, and causes crunch, causes slips in production. They're not getting paid more because that's not how jobs work in that thing. So unionization provides protection for workers and gives us quality content at the end of the day, right? So I think this is a win for everybody, especially Disney Studios, who are cranking out some good stuff. Hopefully that applies to Pixar because they're what did they do this Elemental? Still making did great for them. Huge debut on Disney Plus. So kudos to that team. In case people hadn't heard, Disney is purchasing the remainder of Hulu from Comcast, I believe in December, or later this month, November.
They are being forced to buy it. We don't know if there's really any protest necessarily on Disney's end, because you wouldn't want to protest if you're being forced to buy it, because then it looks like you're being led into something bad, which is you don't want shareholders getting that. So I believe when the date came up where Comcast was legally allowed to excise that rule in the contract, it happened immediately. No, we don't want this anymore.
I'm pretty sure it was September 30th or October 1st, because they talked about the valuation date. It's $8 billion, right?
Yeah.
Which would be a third of Hulu's valuation.
Yeah, and that's what they have to decide on now, because I believe that valuation, it was based on when the the contract was originally written. So I'm sure that'll go through some sort of arbitration or something.
Well, the 8 point something was September 30th of this year's valuation, but Comcast also owes money to Disney or Hulu for their content on there. Why you can't just put it on there for free? So they have to pay some dividends or something. I don't know, but. Last year, Bob Iger, when he came back, he announced the plans of a bundle app. You go to one app, you choose Hulu or Disney Plus. Hopefully, they just blend it all into one goddamn app, Mike. I don't want to go into one app to choose two apps. So just put it all in one, like you do everywhere else in the world.
It was interesting. I didn't realize this because I've been kind of tweaking with some of my Disney subscriptions and bundles and what have you, and I didn't realize that at least from my end, my Disney bundle is managed on Hulu's website.
Yeah.
If I want to adjust how many ads or what tier I want of my Disney bundle, it's not happening at disneyplus.com. It's happening at hulu.com, which I found very strange. You would think all of that architecture would have been built in kind of the flagship app.
If Comcast still has access, maybe they didn't want to give away that information.
Yeah, maybe that could be a possibility as well. But yeah, I think you got the nail on the head. Bring this down into one app. The market seemed to like the acquisition.
Yeah.
I checked Disney's stock price when the news came out, and the stock went up.
Yeah.
So the stock bump almost could be enough right there to pay for to cover the purchase.
Hulu. Everyone's if one company owns Hulu, they're going to kill it. Well, because Comcast wants. I'm no, Comcast just isn't a streaming company, right? They're not a thing. They're a live cable kind of company. So I think. And I think they're owned by NBC Universal, right? So they want to go into their Peacock app only. So I think the Hulu being busy, it's either going to merge into Disney Plus as one app or something. I think there'll be a merger coming and make it easier.
I could see maybe a strategy. Maybe they try to morph Hulu into something that Amazon Prime is doing with Freevee, which used to be IMDb TV, which is hard to say, so that was a good rebrand right there, where I could see pretty much all of the real exclusive, pretty much everything good that Hulu's ever made goes over to Disney Plus permanently, right?
Yeah.
But then the brand name for Hulu has been
huge.
Established. It's there. There's no reason to necessarily kill it. So maybe we just turn Hulu into our fast TV service, right? We just, if we want to we see Netflix buying the streaming rights for all of these Zack Snyder's Justice League streaming
DC
shows,
movies
right?
are on there, and then I think some other there's still the idea of people can buy content now because streaming isn't.
Yeah, and that strategy is out there in the universe, and I can't possibly see Disney Plus buying the streaming rights for something that could be considered competition for their IP, but I could see them doing it and putting it on Hulu.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my guess, is Hulu turns into fast TV, 100% ad supported or crazy expensive if you want it ad free.
20 I think it's $18 by itself, 20 if you add Disney Plus, which isn't bad because I think they understand you're going to be on one or the other. Like, you're not going to be on both at the same time. So I think that's interesting. I don't use Hulu, but I would use it more if it was in one app. I just hate going and bouncing around all over the place. Put it all in Plex, Mike. That's where I'm going to use it, if I'm going to be honest with you. But yeah, I said this is a good thing, and we'll see kind of how this pushes the envelope forward for everybody. Netflix also announced this week that they will reward you if you have if you're on the ad-supported plan of Netflix. When you binge watch shows, you will be watching less ads or get ad-free episodes when you just continue watching. So, yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's like the opposite of what happens. I remember like in the early streaming days, like I would like find a movie on like NBC.com or something like that, right?
Yep.
Or even if you're just watching something on standard cable, once you get towards the end of that movie, right, they're putting ads in every 10 minutes because they know you want to see conclusion of the story, right? And this seems to be like maybe the opposite of that. So that's good. I do my best not to engage with any sort of positivity when it comes to ad supported anything, because ads are the worst.
Yeah,
so
but
I guess this is Netflix kind of flexing that definition of we're like a technology company.
That I would also say, they have stats, Mike. They know viewers' information very, very exclusively, and while we may have the luxury of being able to buy the ad free plan, some people may not have that luxury, and if they have to watch it, this is a great way to do it, because guess what, it keeps you in their app, Mike. They get more numbers, they get more viewing hours they get to share with people. Is Netflix part of the writers thing where they have to disclose streaming information too? Anybody that hires union writers. So guess what, they're going to be able to bump their numbers by saying if you keep watching this, you're gonna get less ads. So we have more consecutive hours watched on Netflix than anywhere else.
Honestly, I would not be surprised if they use like an advanced algorithm to tailor the amount of ads just based on the user, right? Like, if we know Steven from Nebraska like is really, really tolerant to ads, we're going to show him as many ads as possible. Whereas like, I don't know, like Jessica from New Jersey, it does not like ads, will very easily bounce out of a show. And, she's already not watched much Netflix this month. And, we see that this is the type of behavior that happens before somebody cancels, that they don't get a whole lot of ads. So I could see almost like a meta game going where people are talking on forums of just like how people talk about how do you juice the Instagram algorithm to get more impressions and exposure and likes and comments and stuff. People are going to be like, oh, if you want less ads on Netflix, this is the behavior that you should be doing, go to that page on their website that says cancel their subscription, hit the cancel button, and then when the pop-up says, are you sure you want to do that, just leave it up there for 15 minutes.
Well, and I think the other thing is, they've recently increased their plans after reporting a record quarter. They may actually make more money off of ads, Mike, than you paying them. So they want to push people to the ad tiers, because we get paid more for ads than we do if you just buy a month of Netflix.
Oh yeah.
So they may be trying to push people in that direction, but I don't know. Boy, pirating is just way more, looks better than it ever has these days. So either way, we'll talk more about that later. Mike, you had a very interesting question about this movie we're about to talk about here. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
I feel like you were roasting me in the group chat.
I was.
When I proposed this. This was a legitimate question. I wasn't
I know
throwing any shade, if you will, on the franchise. The new Planet of the Apes movies that I have seen, and I've lost track of which ones I haven't seen or which ones I have finished. I've liked everything that I've watched.
Yes.
And they're all great. They're directed.
Matt Reeves.
Directed great. This newer one, though, is directed by the guy who did the Maze Runner movies, so I don't know if that's going to change people's perception.
The writers are the Avatar Way water writers for this movie.
Hey, we know I like my blue aliens.
That's a great story. They did a great story with not humans.
So anyway, basically, I've forgotten a lot of the things that have happened in this franchise because I'm not caught up, and it's been a minute. But in this trailer, the monkeys are clearly speaking English 100%. And I just wanted to know, like, is this a storytelling device for the audience just so we don't have to read monkey subtitles for 2.5 hours? or did they literally learn and adopt the language of their oppressors and use it as their culture? That's all I wanted to know. It doesn't really matter either way. I was just curious.
So the first movie, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which I believe that's the one with what's his name?
Franco.
Yeah, James Franco. At the end, there's a virus that escapes, makes apes smarter. He says like 2 words or like a word at the end, right? And that's the kickoff of Apes speaking, and they talk in the next 2 movies. Obviously, known for Andy Serkis playing Caesar. Matt Reeves directed the second and third one, and this is the 4th one. Which it's a 20th Century Studios. I didn't think they were going to make more of these, if I'm going to be completely honest. So it sounds like they found a way to do it. It's very CG though.
I gotta imagine maybe the pandemic slowed things down, because we start with Rise of the Planet of the Apes in 2011, and then we go to Dawn in 2014, which is 3 years, and then 3 more years we get War for the Planet of the Apes in 2017. That was 7 years ago now. So this is the largest gap that we've seen. And maybe they're playing with that sense of time in the in this trailer. Like, the human beings that we see seem to be very primal. Loincloths, like face paint. I don't know exactly how much time has supposed to
several generations, because I looked it up myself to kind of see what was going on.
I think that's clever, because you're seeing like a new kind of primate take over the planet, and the previous ones whose resources and territories are scarce, are kind of regressing a little bit. I wonder, is the plan to have the iconic Statue of Liberty moment at some point in time? Like, are they going to do in 3 more years, or maybe at the end of this one, at the end of one of these newer films, they'll have like a spaceman fly in from a wormhole, and it'll be like, what's happening?
My guess would be another trilogy, right? This one and 2 more, and then end with that, because Planet of the Apes shouldn't be this popular, Mike. Shouldn't be this good. Should not have this many movies in a franchise. So it's blowing my mind that we're even talking about a 4th in a reboot series, the second reboot. If I look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, this is the 10th movie, along with a television series, an animated series. So I'm pretty stoked to kind of go back into it. I'm glad it's there. But the one thing I did is the main actress, Freya Allan, she's from the Witcher show. She plays the Ciri, the younger girl that he protects. I was like, she looks familiar, so I had to go look that up. But it looks, the effects have come a long way. We get to see some of the cities overgrown with lush vegetation. So I'm interested to see what the story is and kind of see how it follows through. It looks like obviously, like, I think in 2 movies we're gonna get the damn dirty apes kind of thing. So I'm excited. That's fine. That's great. Cool. Another movie. In that thing. Bad news in the Constantine world. The J.J. Abrams version of Constantine that was tied to the Justice League Dark, which was also canceled earlier this year, has been scrapped at Warner Brothers. Another thing was also canceled from Abrams over at Warner Brothers. It sounds like they're really just they're not down on him, but they're not spending any money on his projects kind of going on.
Well, yeah, I feel like there was some sort of... Didn't we report some sort of news that kind of like the Bad Robot Warner Brothers
they
kind
paused,
of deal overall?
They paused everything during the writer's strike, but they picked everything back up afterwards. But the Keanu Reeves version of Constantine, the sequel to his movie 2, is still moving forward. This could also be, maybe it didn't work with James Gunn, Peter Safran's vision moving forward either. So this is fine with me. This is I don't need multiple Constantine movies out in the world. So
we're just it's a little bit of a strange moment in the landscape of superhero movies on both sides of the aisle, right? Whether it's DC or Marvel, right? Everyone is just like trying to find a new lane, like a new path of success. Gunn kind of gets to start over from scratch, where Marvel is trying to just get back in the groove. They've slid out of it a little bit, so. It's go place your bets in Vegas, folks.
Well, that'll tie us into our next topic. Next topic, the Penguin series from Max was pushed to fall 2024 due to the ongoing strikes. And the showrunner, I believe, or maybe someone higher up at Max, was like, "This will cure your superhero fatigue." I'm like, I know it won't. You say that immediately. I immediately do not believe you at all. So. But it was originally someone posted there was a Max event maybe going on this week as well, something maybe a streaming event. But there was a schedule. This was originally planned for spring, but due to the actor strikes, they pushed this to fall of next year. So I'm excited to watch the Penguin set in the Matt Reeves verse, right? Yeah, before we get to the Batman 2 in there.
Yeah, we had a trailer for it, right, or something. I swear I remember seeing something.
I think
visually.
I think it was like a sizzle reel for Max a couple months ago, back when the Discovery purchase, the merger went through.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, Penguin was great in that Matt Reeves movie, so let's cross our fingers.
Yeah, they've set up a good vacuum of power in Gotham, so I would love to see what Matt Reeves does next, because he's going from Planet of the Apes to Batman, so we need more Batman. Lastly, Dune Sisterhood, the TV series spinoff, I guess prequel series that was announced before the movie came out. I think in 2019, this announcement was 2019, is now called Dune Prophecy, and it's still coming to Max. And it is set to take place 10,000 years before the first Dune movie. So it's going to tell the origins of the Bene Gesserit, which are the space witches from the Dune movie, which I know you haven't watched. So this means nothing to you. I just realized you hadn't watched this yet. So you have no idea what these words mean.
How is Chris going to bring this up to me at the end of the show?
Sorry.
I mean, I was ready to get into Dune, man. I was ready to do it, and then they delayed part 2.
This weekend was also supposed to be Dune part 2. This weekend, before it was delayed, by the way, due to the actor strikes. But this is great because there are thousands and thousands of years in the Dune saga. This is never, I don't think, maybe it's been set like told a little bit, kind of like the Lord of the Rings history, what they're doing here. So this is going to be one of those things where it doesn't have to end where the movie starts. There's plenty of stuff to tell in the meantime. So very excited to understand these space witches and what they do, because they are very creepy and very intriguing with their abilities. So anyway, Mike, that's the episode. That's a good one to end on there, because I totally forgot you hadn't watched that yet, and we're gonna get there next year though. We'll have a Dune part 2. You have a whole Dune watching experience. So, but if people don't know what you're up to, what you're doing, what can they find you at, buddy?
Oh, well, they can find my webcomics at liferewardsrisk.com. Head on over there and read some of my funny jokes. Chris, if people want to find you, where are you?
You can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, or video game system the same, Valdan, VALDA. And obviously Mike called me, he was like, why are you playing Diablo? I'm like, I'm not playing Diablo. Where are you seeing this?
That's not what Discord said.
The Discord said I was playing Diablo. I'm like, well, that's confusing, because I haven't played that in a few hours. But you can find me on those playing Diablo, Spider-Man, Fortnite OG season, whatever you want, I'll be there. But if people want to know more about the show, what we're doing, they can listen to our review episode next week, Mike, because I forgot we have the Marvels this week until my wife reminded me when we were making our plans for the week.
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, next week we'll be talking about the Marvels and Loki at the same time, won't we?
We will have a very, very filled Sunday for
that
recording.
That is the best segue ever to tell people to head on over to superheroslate.com to make sure that you are subscribed to all of the shows that we put out. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to podcasts. You can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love our super fans. If you want to be a super fan of this show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we'll be here every week, folks.
That's right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.